Dream big, never stop dreaming, because you can do whatever that you want as long as you believe in your dreams.
Welcome to the Dare to Dream Productions podcast. Please welcome Ian Mullen, director and writer of the hilarious and relatable YouTube short Every Zoom Meeting from Second City. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. I'm very excited to learn the whole process of how you did everything through Zoom. It's really impressive.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was definitely a crazy experience given the time that it happened.
Yeah. It's very relatable to these times too.
Yeah, well, I can just dive right into it if you want.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about how you even got started with Second City?
Yeah, totally. So I went to the Harold Ramis Film School at the Second City, which is a year-long program housed at the Second City. I went there in 2018. 2018, yep, and finished in 2019. And then after that, um, I joined a video collective called Video People that are all alumni from the Harold Ramis Film School, and we kind of, I think in 2019, started to make our mission statement was to make a high quality short every 8 weeks. Um, this is pre-pandemic, so we started doing that, and it was going great. And then the pandemic happened, and I think we had made three or four up to that point, and we were planning on making. We had just shot one in person in March before everything started going haywire, and in April is when we started looking at how to make things virtually, and then that's when the every Zoom meeting idea came up.
Cool. Did you have a writing partner, or did you write that all by yourself?
I wrote it all by myself. It was a very quick process. It was in April, and people were just starting to be on Zoom all the time, and starting to figure out the little quirks and little annoyances that happen when you're on Zoom. And I noticed that as well because I was also on Zoom because we were trying to make stuff without being in person. And um, it was honestly, the writing process was very straightforward. It was just me, and there was 9 of us in Video People, and I just made everyone a heightened or annoying version of themselves, and coupled with the annoying quirks you see on Zoom. And there was a couple drafts that we talked about certain things, but nothing really changed that much from the original script. And then we ended up filming it pretty quickly after that, because I think that we thought the pandemic was not going to last as long as it has lasted, so we wanted to hop on the Zoom content train as soon as we could to try and catch the wave, which we did, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, you have a lot of views. What is it at? Like almost 1 million?
No, it just crossed 100,000,
Wow.
which is still crazy, because usually, even with our content being on Second City's YouTube channel, we only usually get roughly 1 to 2,000 views per video. So this one took off right away, and I think, and I couldn't tell you, the exact reason, but I think my best guess is we hit it just right with the Zoom stuff. And then as much as it disappoints me to say that sometimes on YouTube, whether the stuff is good or bad, title and thumbnail make a big difference. And I think and we just titled it Every Zoom Meeting, and then having Second City's base of subscribers, like 100,000 or 200,000 subscribers, it just kind of all came together and pushed it up into the 100K view area, which is nuts.
Yeah, and it could still get more views, which is crazy.
I know, yeah, it's wild. It's wild to think about.
Congrats, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So, what inspired the short?
I wanted to do something satirical and make fun of Zoom, because we all had to deal with it, and we were all stressed about being on it. And we were trying to make ideas that were easy to make, because we can't meet up in person, and we wanted to do something funny and high quality and still in our tone. And at that point we hadn't really talked about how to reach out to actors and do stuff over Zoom. So I wanted to use the people that we have in our collective in video people. And luckily, most of us have work in front of the camera and behind the camera. So everyone in it is great. And it worked out that way. And I think all the things coming together like that, we wanted to keep putting out stuff, but we wanted to make sure we could put out stuff that was good and we could still work together with being safe.
Can you walk us through the process of creating this short? Like, what was the development like? You said you did a few drafts, but did you have like a writer's room?
So usually for video people, we meet once a week and we pre-pandemic submit scripts, and then we vote on a script that we like, and then we do pre-production, production, put the script out or put the video out, and then we start over. With the pandemic, it was similar. We all submitted scripts. We all submitted scripts. We voted on the best script. I think at that time it was a weird time. There weren't that many scripts because we were trying to figure out what to do. So we were going to make my script, and then I decided to direct it since there was no real difference between writing and directing virtually, if that makes any sense. And then the filming process was interesting because we had conversations about whether or not to record ourselves individually, because we didn't know what the edit was going to look like, whether it was going to be the grid view that you see in the final video, or if it was going to hop back and forth like you see if you have it on the other option for Zoom. But that proved a little complicated because we would have to have everyone record themselves separately. We'd also have to record the actual Zoom call that we were filming on. And then we would have separate audio for everyone. And I was also editing it. And it was a combination of, I didn't want to do that much work. And also I thought it could be fine if we just have the grid view, which is what we ended up doing. So the filming process was pretty much, everyone took two or 3 hours. We took 2 or 3 hours. We had the scripts slightly memorized, and then we just hit record and we did it in one take every time. We just went through the script in one take every time. I think we did, again, it was very quick. I think we did under 10 takes because around, the first few are always kind of like, they have mistakes in them and they're a little slow and whatever. But around like take 3 or 4, we figured out the groove, and then it was just my directing style. Once I think that we have it, I don't really think there's a need to keep going. So once we had like 2 or 3 good takes, it was pretty much, okay, we're good. I think we're good. We're done. I don't want to waste anyone's time. Yes. So what you see is just one whole take, and then with slight editing in the beginning. And then I added a yellow square just to keep focus on the story, because one of the things I love so much about that video is you can watch it 9 times in a row if you watch a different person every time and just see a whole different performance, which I think is great. Yeah,
that's really cool. And you get everyone's reactions to certain things that happen. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a fun time. It's always a fun time filming stuff with this group because we all know each other. We've known each other for a couple years now. And that yes and attitude coupled with just wanting to have fun and create stuff. It was a really fun time.
Cool. Did you do any improv?
I think it was pretty close to the script, but I think certain moments, a lot of the improv came from, so my scripts, when I usually write them, are very dialogue heavy, and I like them to be very quick and fast paced when it's dialogue. So a lot of the improv came when people would jump in with their lines and when they would hold back and like talking over each other, which I love so much because I think that's what happens in real life. And it was so fun because on Zoom, obviously there's a little bit of a delay, which almost adds to the performance because you're talking over someone, but you might not even realize you're talking over them. So you kind of just have to jump in whenever you feel in the moment as your character, this is when I'm going to jump in. And it was different every time. So the lines were pretty much the same. I'm not a stickler for word, but the ideas were pretty much the same. But whether people would jump in or not was what changed, and it was really funny because sometimes it would catch everyone off guard.
It's kind of like running like a theater production if you think about it. Because it's like not really takes, it's just one and done, and then you have to do it again.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that. That's so interesting of a point. And I had just come off of directing a musical that only got one showing right before that. So maybe I was, you're like making me think if I was still in that mindset of writing and directing and just transferring it to the Zoom. That's so funny.
Did you have to hide any of like the crew members on Zoom so they weren't being recorded? Like, did you have people like set to like watch everyone's cameras and make sure their audio was working, or how did you do that?
No, it was pretty much what you see is what was happening. Everyone was in their own apartment or home. Everyone was recording. I think everyone recorded audio just as a backup, but I recorded the grid view, and there was no extra anything. There was no extra crew members. There was no anyone like not pictured. Everyone was pictured. Everyone could see. Another interesting thing was everyone could see what was going on, which is a fascinating way to perform. So I was performing, but I was also trying to make sure that we kept the pace up and kept, there was no crazy lulls or anything like that. So it was definitely fly by the seat of your pants in a good way, because we just didn't know. This was our first time trying to do something over Zoom, and I think we got lucky, and also just it worked out somehow.
It was so successful, and just like it's so relatable. That's the thing. Like everyone like had a Zoom call like this before, or just like knows someone who does like a specific thing in it. So it's perfect. It's pretty cool.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I think everyone is guilty of doing at least one of those things once, whether it's talking too loudly or eating too closely or, freaking out about the pandemic, when it's probably best just to keep it on the inside for a couple of minutes. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
Did you have the actors look at their own cameras, or like how did you direct like everyone in different areas? Because when you film, everyone's seeing like a different view of the boxes. So how did you do that?
I think we had, I think everyone had it on the grid view, so they weren't just seeing themselves or whoever was talking. And I think that, again, I think that just everyone was aware that it was kind of a one take type of thing. So they were basing their performance on, let's make sure that the timing is correct, but also to give a good performance. So it was pretty much, everyone did kind of what they felt was best, and just to make sure to keep up with everyone else. If that answers your question. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah. Like, were they looking at the camera when they were performing, or were they looking like just on the screen?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think everyone was mostly, well, I can speak for myself. I was looking at the screen. I was not looking at the camera, because I was also trying to direct and make sure that it looked okay visually and it sounded okay. But I think for the most part, people were looking at the camera and maybe just listening for the cues of when to come in and when to not come in, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, it's a whole different type of directing, and just like trying to figure it out is like a whole new landscape. So
yeah, it's wild. The thing I don't like most about Zoom is the ever so slight delay. Even if everyone has great internet, there's always a delay just based off of the technology. Because when you're directing in person, it's immediate. It's so right there in your face, and you can give a note or you can react quickly. And something about that delay just drives me crazy when it comes to giving information to crew or actors or something like that, where it's just slightly tougher to comment on what's happening in the moment.
mm-hmm. Makes it more difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
What are some tips you'd give directors who are going to make films on Zoom to make it successful?
I would say to make sure that the script is well known for all the actors to make sure that, usually an actor will do a great job at mesmerizing lines. I know when we recorded ours, the first couple takes, no one had it mesmerized because it was such a rapid turnaround of, okay, we wrote this, we reviewed this on Tuesday, let's film it on Wednesday, which is totally fine because, I'm not going to expect anyone to mesmerize 3 pages of this thing that we're not getting paid for, A, and B, just happened. But I think that it would have saved us some time if we all had it mesmerized. It was just the nature of how we shot it that we didn't. So those first couple takes were a little flub lines, little things like that. But once we got through it, it was totally fine. I would also recommend to have just a little extra patience, just given the technology and what's happening, because there's only a certain amount of things you can do. You can control because you're remote and everyone else is remote,
Wi-Fi troubles and
Oh, Wi-Fi troubles for sure. And always make sure you have backup audio, which was a big thing. We never had to use it, thankfully, but you don't want to miss a funny line just because someone's Wi-Fi cut out, whether it's the person recording or the person giving the line. So as long as you have an extra audio backup, that'll save you some. I'm trying to think of what else we stumbled upon. Also, I just think make sure to have fun. It's a stressful time right now, and you get to create content even if it's not in person, but it still can be fun and creative, and you can do a lot of things to make sure that you're getting your voice out there.
Mm-hmm. And it's cool we have like access to actors from all over the world now too, since if you are doing like something on Zoom, you don't have to be like in the same city or state.
Exactly. Exactly. To your point, there's no worry about, getting people in one place physically, or like you said, having access to people that you might not have access to. So it's a great time to try and work with people that maybe you couldn't work with because of your geographical location.
I'm working on a Zoom comedy about a holiday like Christmas party over Zoom, and chaos just erupts, and there's like a grandma who doesn't know how to work the camera, and then like a furry comes on the call, and it's
That sounds
just
so fun.
crazy. But
How's the process going? Where are you in the process right now?
we're casting right now, and we have callbacks tonight, and we just had 700 people submit on Backstage.
Whoa.
So yeah, it's been a lot. Like just going through everyone, and it's really cool because we have people from like the Netherlands and England, and it's cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I also remember one thing we did, which might be useful, is I believe I recorded the grid view of the Zoom, and then I had someone else record the other version where it hops between who's talking, just as a backup in case you want to spice up your edit later on if the grid view won't suffice for the whole thing. Because it sounds like yours is going to be very fun, and there might be some interesting close-up shots or single shots of people.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm trying to think about, like, do I want it just to be the grid view or like the close-ups, because some things like the furry coming in I want to capture, like, because if you're on the big grid view you might not see it. So we're gonna like experiment.
Yeah, totally.
So what challenges did you face filming on Zoom compared to filming in person?
Well, like I said, the instant feedback was a little bit of an issue for me to work around, not being able to be in person and immediately talk to someone. I don't know. It was an interesting time because the problems you run into on set were not really there on Zoom. We weren't worried about timing and getting certain shots as much because we only had the one shot to get, and there was no other departments running around trying to create an environment. It was just us in whatever spot you happen to be in your apartment, and just make sure that nothing's going on for 2.5, 3 hours while we record. because when you're on set, you're trying to make sure you get all the stuff you need in a certain location before you get kicked out, or before an actor has to leave, or you need a couple hours for production, the art department to set up, or anything like that. And we didn't really run into any of that because it wasn't there. It wasn't even an issue or an idea, because it was so on the fly. We just wanted to make sure that your square looked somewhat decent, except for the beaches thing, which was we had two people with a beach background. One of them was purposely bad. That was the only thing that we made sure was not good. But it was just kind of a different set of, I'd say the biggest problem was just dealing with being virtual, because it can be exhausting, being virtual for that amount of time, even just for an hour is tiring. And I think we handled it pretty well.
Yeah, it's like that Zoom fatigue, man.
Ugh.
Horrible.
It's yeah. I mean, 2 Zoom calls in a day is basically the equivalent of an 8-hour workday.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine, 700 acts via Zoom audition. That just sounds, my heart goes out to you for having to go through that.
So how did you know YouTube was the right platform for this versus like Vimeo, or have you like submitted to film festivals for this?
We have not submitted to film festivals. We have not submitted to film festivals. I think that because it took off so quickly, I just think the idea of a film festival didn't really cross our minds, because we were getting enough play, or we were getting a crazy amount of play than normal. So we were just letting it live on YouTube wherever it lives. And then the reason we chose YouTube is because Video People because we went to Harold Ramis, we're allowed to put our videos up on Second City's YouTube, which is a nice, it's great because Second City is the Second City, and also has a great YouTube, has almost 200,000 YouTube subscribers, I think. So there's an immediate audience just when we post it. So that's nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's the smart route then.
Yeah. Take advantage of the people they're throwing at you to watch your stuff.
Do you think like holiday Zoom shorts though would play at film festivals, or do you think like it would have a more success on like YouTube?
It's an interesting battle, because it depends. I think it depends on when the film festivals are that you're submitting it to. If it's a Christmas short, but then again, also, as I'm saying this, if the festival is virtual, it shouldn't really matter, just because I was going to say it depends on where and when the film festivals are. If it's in the summer and it's wherever, then I don't know if Christmas or holiday content they would want. But if it's a virtual film festival, I don't think it matters. Also, I think that if the short is good enough, it'll get into a festival just because of quality. But YouTube is a great place to put things. We always put, we just submitted our short after every Zoom meeting, which was the last one we filmed in person before every Zoom meeting, was just finished last month, which I also directed, which was the Art of Shoe Design, which is also on the Second City YouTube, which is like a mockumentary similar to Abstract on Netflix. But we put that on YouTube, and we submitted it to a couple like short of the week and things like that, just because it never hurts to submit to film festivals if you want to, and you can always just put it up on YouTube before or after. You can do both.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So how's it doing like on YouTube?
It's doing okay. It's hard to compare things to every Zoom meeting because it's such an outlier of how many views it's gotten. But all of the personal feedback I've heard is that people seem to like it, and I'm very proud of it. It was our biggest effort, I will say, because we were trying to copy a style of Abstract on Netflix, which is very stylistic. There's a stylistic way of shooting and a way of presenting the information. And I think we did our best work because we filmed it in March and it came out in September because we were doing post-production stuff on it and making sure that the edit looked right because we put so much effort into it. And I think it turned out really well.
Cool. I'll have to check it out. What's it called again for viewers who want to see it?
It's called The Art of Shoe Design, Richard de Havilland. If you just type in The Art of Shoe Design, Second City to YouTube, it should pull up right there. It's based on, it's a mockumentary about Richard, who is the son of a real life British shoe designer, Terry de Havilland, who died, I think last year. Richard is his fake son. But Terry used to design shoes for like Elton John and people like that in the disco era. And we decided to see what would happen if his bumbling son would take over his shoe business. And it's really great. The performance of Richard by my friend John Barnes is very good. And then the other two performances are equally as good. It was such a fun time.
Cool. Very interesting. Also, like, I don't even think, like, views matter. Like, they do, but at the same time, like, the personal feedback and, like, the comments, that's what matters, you know? And just, like, getting people to watch it, too. Like, I don't know. Just, like, your close family members, like, that's just a nice experience.
Oh, absolutely. Totally. Yeah. Watching other people watch the stuff you've created is one of my favorite things to do, to see how they react and see, you know, when they laugh at moments that you want them to laugh at or you're hoping they laugh at. It's such a joy that is way more fun and lovely to be a part of than, you know, watching the view count go up. And just making stuff that you're passionate about and putting it out in the world is an accomplishment in itself.
Has the short gotten you new opportunities or connections?
Not at the moment. It did get me to talk to you, which was great. That was a fun surprise, and I'm so glad to be here and to be able to talk about it. But it is a nice thing to have in your pocket, especially for me and also for video people as we keep making shorts during the pandemic and post-pandemic. We can point that out and say, hey, we can make things that basically we can say, hey, you should give us money, whoever you are, because we can make things that are fun and people like. So it's nice to have that in your back pocket.
Yeah, and also, like, 50 years from now, it's kind of cool. We're going to be, like, show the short that, you know, we made during the quarantine, and it will be, people won't even believe it's, like, that happened, you know?
Exactly.
That's cool. Are you going to do another Zoom skit or short anytime soon?
I don't have any plans to do it anytime soon. I think that, like we talked about earlier, Zoom fatigue is very real for me at the moment. So I think I'll take a break from making any Zoom videos. But I'm just hoping we can eventually start to shoot in person again, which I'm missing very much. And even just, you know, shooting in person, going to the movie theater, which is my absolute favorite thing to do. Things like that are hopefully soon. Who knows? Who knows?
Me too. It's such a nice feeling just going with friends and appreciating, like, cinema.
Exactly.
How it's supposed to be, like, seen. But, like, drive-ins. Have you been to a drive-in?
I have been to a drive-in. I've been to the Chi-Town something, the one that the Music Box is partners with. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was cool. What did you see?
We went and saw Beetlejuice, and then we saw, another film it was made in Chicago, but I forget what it was called. So embarrassing. What did you see?
I saw Jill Six Jenniferin. She's like a woman, like, horror director. She did this film called The Stylist.
Oh, cool.
It was good. Really
was
creepy.
Was that for their 30 Days of October or whatever they were doing?
Yes.
Nice. I think Beetlejuice was a part of that too, was when we went and saw it.
Yeah, it was nice. They had, like, a little, like, popcorn and, like, drinks and stuff. So
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, drive-ins are fun. drive-ins are fun, but being in a movie theater is more fun. I will say that.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yes.
So speaking of that, like this whole world like we're living in, what do you think the future of filmmaking is? Like, do you think everyone's gonna have to wear masks on set now, like all the time, or what do you think?
I think that we will eventually get back to how it was, quote unquote, but I do think that there will be an embedded new level of safety. Because film sets are not necessarily known as being the cleanest of environments, just because there's a lot of hands touching a lot of gear, and it's a lot of people crowded in small spaces sometimes, most times, and it's on the fly, and you're kind of doing things at a breakneck pace. But I think going forward, there's definitely going to be some caution, and rightly so, of just making sure that things are sanitized to a point where everyone's comfortable, and also little things like having a certain amount of people in certain amounts of spaces and things like that. So I think we'll get back to, not having to wear masks on set and things like that. But I do think there will be an extra level of safety and cleanliness going forward on sets, which is great.
Yeah, it should be like that too.
Right, exactly.
Cool. So what's next for you, Ian?
Oh man, I just directed the Art of Shoe Design, which I just told you about, which was fun. I am currently writing a web series for video people, so we'll see how that goes. And then I am going to start thinking about writing my first feature, which will be fun to see if let me correct myself. Writing my first feature with intent to film it, which is what I'm going to start thinking about. Yeah. So I was actually starting to think about it last March was when I had the first idea of it, thinking I could film it next year and use this year as a fundraising pre-production time. But as we all know, the world went haywire. So I'm going to start that process again of seeing if it's possible to do something like that, because that's my ultimate, that's what I want to do, is feature films. So
That's awesome. Please give us updates.
Yeah, totally.
You'll have to come on again if you like. I don't know. We could do one about like the whole fundraising process or something. Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, cool.
That'd be
Thank
amazing.
you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun, and it was so nice to be on this, and you're so nice and lovely to talk to.
Oh, thank you.